Hey guys, and we're back. We are at TechCrunch Gadgets Live at CES 2014. I'm Chris Velasco, and joining me from Formlabs, we've got Sam Jacoby. Sam, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. We're having a great time here.
I'm really glad to hear that. We've also got something very interesting between us. Tell us what we're looking at here.
So we're looking at the Form 1. This is a stereolithographic 3D printer that we make and design. And this is an affordable, very high-resolution 3D printer, and part of a new class of really exciting 3D printers that are coming onto the marketplace and making a big splash here.
Cool. Let's rewind a bit for our viewers. There are plenty of 3D printers out there. There's actually a whole section inside CES devoted to 3D printers. But you threw out the word stereolithographic. What does that mean?
So it's actually a very old 3D printing technology. In some ways, the original 3D printing technology. Inside here is a small laser, an ultraviolet laser, which is controlled by a pair of two galvanometers. Those are mirrors, and they reflect that laser into a light-sensitive resin. And where that laser goes, it hardens it. So it's really an optical process, and it gives you really, really fine detail on your parts. And that's the technology that this printer uses. And that's why it has this distinctive orange cover. It's to protect the light-sensitive resin as well as you from the laser itself.
Awesome. And I'm just going to go on the record and say I think this is my favorite form of 3D printing because lasers are involved. We've got some really cool models here, but really quickly before we address those, why is this sort of preferable to sort of the extrusion models that we've seen from a lot of the, I guess you could say, less expensive 3D printers and the more popular ones?
Yeah, I mean, there is a spectrum of products out there.
Sure.
The Form 1 is really aimed at sort of the prosumer, like people who have a somewhat more demanding application, perhaps an engineer, an artist, a product designer who is looking not only at maybe drafting up some ideas, but also really exploring the kinds of qualities they can get with really, really high quality and high resolution. The pieces that come out of something like the Form 1, they're very much like finished products. They have a very, very smooth surface. All the detail that you expect to see in a finished product is there. And that's the kind of the outcome that people look to from machines like this.
Awesome. And speaking of the outcome, we've got some really, really cool examples up here. Why don't you start from your end and kind of show us what this thing is capable of?
So this is a part. This was done by one of our engineers, Jason Livingston. And this is a part that we use to sort of show the largest part that you can print inside of the printer. And you can see a part inside here that we actually printed last night. The printer is a little unusual in that it pulls the part kind of upside down out of that resin tank, and this is about as big a part as you can make. And of course, you have this really nice detail and the really smooth finish that you can get.
This I got to say this is my favorite.
Yeah,
this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
This is a crowd pleaser and one we love. This is designed and finished. This is a painted part, so don't be fooled before you're thinking, okay, throwing in metal here, brass. This is painted and really beautifully so. This is done by an animator and digital artist named Robert Vignone, who had one of the very first Form 1s that we sent out on our Kickstarter campaign last year, and he just does incredible work. So this is a character from Pan's Labyrinth, and it is really an example of the really, really nice detail that you get with stereolithography.
Gotcha. And then, of course, we can't forget the French. We have the Eiffel Tower here as well.
The Eiffel Tower is sort of what we like to roll with when we talk about detail.
Right.
So we've taken something that is 990 feet tall or some such. I'm sure I'll be corrected, and shrunk it down to about 8 inches tall. And you can see here that lattice work is reproduced really reliably.
Right.
And that's really nice for architects or people doing modeling who want to capture all of that.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, that's actually a little bigger than what the build stage sort of allows for. How does that sort of come together for you?
Very sharp. So we can print something about, you can test me right here. Be like, something's wrong here. It's actually 2 parts. So we print the bottom, then we print the top, and we slap them together. It makes it a little more impressive.
No, that's really cool. I'm really glad to see that.
Cool.
Now, you actually just mentioned your Kickstarter campaign. It went down last year. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering this correctly, you guys were really one of the big 3D printing success stories when it comes to crowdfunding. What was that process like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was a roller coaster. I think we felt like we had something incredible, and we were really proud of the machine. but the degree to which Kickstarter as a platform, I think probably people who are on Kickstarter know that it's a little bit of a breeding ground for 3D printers.
Sure, of course.
And has been a great home for us. We, I believe, to date are still the most funded project in the technology category. So we ended up raising close to $3 million in just about a month. And it was kind of madness. I mean, just that incredible launch. And that's really a community that we still rely on, and is a home to some of our most kind of expert users and biggest fans.
That's really cool stuff. I want to take, since we're sort of on the topic of crowdfunding, I want to take a very brief break from 3D printing. And as we mentioned earlier, we are holding a hardware battlefield where we have a ton of great hardware startups, and a lot of them are sort of going the crowdfunding route. I just kind of wanted to put it to you, what sort of makes a good crowdfunding campaign? What should hardware startups be looking at for as best practices to kind of get the funding they're looking for?
I think, there is a lot more attention that does have to be paid to the kind of products that people are interested in.
Right.
There are a lot of great ideas out there and a lot of really great implementations, but it's also about telling a story. It's about saying, hey, what is my product really great at doing, and how can I communicate that to people? Something like the Form 1. The Form 1 encapsulates a really nice story. We developed the materials ourselves, the software ourselves, and tie that together into sort of a desktop unit that people can relate to and say, hey, I can see that on my desk. I want that. I know what I can do with that. And I think making that kind of connection to people out there, that's really, in some ways, more important than really kind of nailing a really fantastic product.
Right on.
You didn't hear that from me, but I guess you did.
Okay, we're going to strike that from the record. Obviously, you've got some really phenomenal-looking hardware here, in addition to being very functional. But you talked about software, and I think that's one of the things I always sort of liked about what you guys did the best. It's I'm very much a 3D printing novice. I can't model for my life, but I always got the impression that if I had to, I could probably use your software. And I think you guys just pushed out a new update as well.
Yeah. This is kind of a big milestone for us in that we released version 1.0 of our software today. And that's something that we've been working to, obviously, for the past year. Software is kind of the unheralded star in 3D printing. Cheap computation, communities that are really supporting a lot of the complex algorithms that go into making 3D printers work well. It's a hard problem, and we've gotten really good at it. PreForm really takes it to the next level. It's the software that you use with the Form 1 to prepare your model for printing. And it does all of the hard work for you. So orienting your model on the build platform, preparing the supports that you need so that it prints reliably.
That's what all those are right there. So you've got a Formlabs butterfly sort of hanging down from that ceiling. And all those little bars that are support. So you snap those off.
Exactly, and those are designed to come off easily, and those are automatically generated. And that's something that the software does for you. 3D printing is a little more challenging than 2D printing in that
one would hope.
In that you do have to sort of suspend these complex architectures in space, and that's kind of too hard for people to do. But our software does it really, really nicely.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
and I just want to pick your brain a bit as to what's next for you guys. Obviously, great hardware, really intuitive software. It's really struck a chord with, I think, a good amount of people.
Yeah.
Where do you kind of take that? Where's the momentum kind of pushing you?
Well, we have a lot more to do with this machine. So we just started shipping it in May. It's a young product. We do the materials ourselves, and there are a lot of exciting materials that we can develop. So we have a couple colors now, but we're looking at sort of more interesting and complex materials in the future.
Such as
that would be resins that you could use for casting, which is a lot of interest for people doing jewelry, dentistry, figurines. That would be resins that are really resistant to high temperatures, which can be used in more demanding industrial applications. Ultimately, resins that are possibly biocompatible, food safe. I mean, that's in the distant future, but that's the direction we're heading.
So this is available now. You can purchase one of these.
You certainly can.
How much is it going to cost?
It's going to cost you $3,299, and that's the printer as well as a liter of our material and a finishing kit to sort of help you clean up afterwards.
Do you guys have any plans to sort of go after the low-cost route? We're seeing a lot of low-cost 3D printers, and I figure that's where a lot of the movement is going to come from. It's going to be people like me and Matt and Devin and Greg buying these things just to kind of see what happens.
I mean, that's a big part of it. There's also a really big group of people. I mean, here we have an aerospace model, and there's been big companies.
Who designed this, by the way?
This was done by an engineer at Airbus. I don't believe it's part of any of their sort of product line. I think he was just experimenting on the side.
Right.
But you've had big companies that have been using 3D printing for decades. But what you're going to see now is small businesses. People who are 5, 7 employees. They can afford a couple of these machines because they are, well within their budget. Are we aiming at a slightly more technical and sort of professional audience? Maybe. But there is a really great kind of printing ecosystem that is backing this up.
Gotcha. No, that's really cool. We're actually running a little low on time, but I wanted to challenge you here on stage. We've got our camera right here. I'd like you to make a plea to our viewers. Why should people buy one of these versus any of the other 3D printers that they could be getting for roughly the same price?
You want to buy a Form 1 because the Form 1 is the best possible 3D printer that you can get for your money. You might play around with 3D printers, you might tinker with it, see where they're going. This is the real deal. This is the machine for when you're serious. And that's why you get a Form 1.
Cool. Well, Sam, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
That's been really enlightening for us.